My girlfriend is a 10 out of 10 knockout. Me? I'm a nerdy programmer with a scar across his face. My colleagues used to say I was punching way above my weight, just a coder daring to reach for a CEO. But Isabella Vance shut them all down, blacklisting them from the industry and publicly asking me to marry her. After that, no one dared to mock her fiancé. Then, one day, she assigned a handsome new intern to my team. I've never seen a kid this sharp with code, she told me, her eyes sparkling. He's brilliant. I want you to mentor him personally. A knot tightened in my stomach, but I agreed. After the 13th time the intern, Caleb, bypassed me, going straight to Isabella's private office to streamline the reporting process. I stamped his final evaluation with a single word: failed. The next day, Caleb was promoted to my position. Isabella stood before the entire department, holding his hand. Caleb is now the director of project management. I assume he has clearance to report directly to me now? Wouldn't you agree, Ethan? I smiled. She had no idea. Before I ever fell for her, I was a corporate spy. One crackle. The sound of my report, the one with failed stamped in red ink, being torn to shreds by Isabella, echoed through the silent office. Effective immediately, Caleb Reed is a full-time employee of Vance Industries, she announced, her voice like ice. He will be taking over as director of project management, reporting directly to me. She shielded Caleb behind her, her gaze narrowing at me. Mr. Hayes, do you have a problem with that? I stood there in the middle of the open plan office, clutching a cardboard box filled with my personal effects, my knuckles white. The whispers started immediately. I can't believe that four-eyed geek actually thought he was the boss. I almost thought Isabella was serious about him. Guess he was just her latest toy. Of course, a woman with her status can have any man she wants. This guy just got in on the ground floor when she was struggling. Yeah, but everyone knew she was going to bounce back bigger than ever. Who knows what his real game was? I gritted my teeth. The director of project management needs to be a certified expert in our core programming languages. He doesn't even have his certifications yet. Oh, Isabella raised an eyebrow. In that case, we'll grant Caleb Reed the permanent title of principal architect at Vance Industries. My head snapped up. I had been with her since the beginning, through the lowest point of her career. I'd worked myself to the bone for 5 years to earn the title of senior engineer. And just like that, because of Caleb, I was now a junior developer. Caleb, who had been here for a handful of weeks, was now a principal architect for life. I didn't go to the cramped, tiny desk they'd assigned me. I turned and walked out of the building. Someone moved to stop me, but Isabella's voice cut through the air. Don't. He'll be back on his own. She looked directly at me as I reached the doors. Ethan, when you're done with your tantrum, you come right back. You were in the wrong this time, and my patience is wearing thin. I went home in silence. Standing in front of the bathroom mirror, I took off the thick-rimmed glasses. My vision is perfect. I only wore them to look nerdy and unassuming, to fly under Isabella's radar back when I started. My original plan was simple. While Vance Industries was vulnerable, I would quietly extract their core technology and disappear. But then Isabella noticed me. While my own mother and sisters recoiled from the scar on my face, she would smile, point at a line of my code, and tell me I was a genius. She celebrated every small victory, pushing me to be better. The day she told me she loved me, I was floored. I asked her why someone who looked like her would ever choose someone like me. Back then, her eyes shone like stars. You're not like other men, Ethan. I can see it. Your intelligence, your vision, your determination. All of that is far more attractive to me than a handsome face. She was the first person since my father's death to see me, to genuinely admire me. So I locked away the sensitive Vance Industries data, the core tech I'd been sent to steal. I didn't have to bleed them dry to win. A strategic partnership with her by my side could be an even greater victory. But now, staring at the drawer full of flash drives and confidential files, my gaze turned to ice. Maybe bleeding them dry was the better option after all. The time wasn't right, though. Caleb had taken over my project, hadn't he? With his level of skill, he was bound to run it straight into the ground. When he did, I could swoop in, expose their affair as the cause of the company's failure, and trigger a complete loss of confidence from their partners. I toyed with a secure drive in my hand. Only by completely dismantling Vance Industries would I have the power to finally stand up to my sisters. But I underestimated Caleb. He was more slippery than I thought. When I walked back into the office, I was met with a round of applause directed at Caleb. "You're a legend, boss. No one could get that code to execute." And to think the old director had the nerve to talk about certifications. Real talent doesn't need a piece of paper. I froze. The project had several major technical hurdles when I left. Even I was still working through the solutions. He'd solve them in a single day. I pushed through the crowd and my smile turned into a sneer. Caleb's monitor was filled with code. My code. It was a library of scripts I'd written months ago. I was nothing. Just a little something I picked up in college, Caleb said, a smug grin playing on his lips even as he feigned humility. The moment he saw me, his eyes widened in panic, and he quickly blanked the screen. But no one else noticed. A little something is better than what the last guy did in 6 months. Imagine what you could do if you actually tried. Isabella has a great eye for talent. He absolutely deserves that principal architect title. But this doesn't actually solve anything, I said. My voice cut through the celebration. Everyone turned to look at me. I pointed at the dark monitor. That script doesn't advance the project one bit. It's just a flashy diagnostic tool. Any decent programmer could write it. I didn't say the code was mine. I needed to see what she was playing at. Caleb's face paled, then twisted into a smirk. "You don't need to worry about that, Mr. Hayes. Everyone, I give you my word. The project will be fully operational by tomorrow." He pointed a finger to the ceiling. "Tomorrow, this project is officially complete. The director is a genius." Incredible. The old boss struggled for months, and Caleb comes in and solves in a day. It's obvious who the real talent is. Someone shot me a look dripping with contempt. The room erupted in cheers. I was pushed to the edge of the circle, staring at Caleb in disbelief. I still hadn't figured out how to solve the project's core problems. How could he guarantee it would be done by tomorrow? Was he really that much better than me? If so, why steal my old scripts to show off? I frowned. True or not, I'd see the results soon enough. If he wasn't lying, then this would be the final asset I could take with me before leaving Vance Industries for good. I turned and quietly left the office. But when I came in the next morning, I wasn't greeted by a launch party. Instead, I found Caleb sobbing, surrounded by concerned colleagues. I didn't know Ethan resented me so much. He choked out. "I just took his job, that's all." I can't believe he would. Delete all my project files. We were supposed to launch today. Every head in the room whipped around to face me. My blood ran cold. I knew exactly what he was doing. He couldn't solve the problem, so he was making me the scapegoat for his failure. "How could you be so shameless, Ethan?" "Caleb earned that promotion," one of my former subordinates shouted, his face red with anger. They all saw Caleb as the future Mr. Vance, and any respect they once had for me was gone. You couldn't solve the problem in months, and when Caleb does it in a day, you decide to sabotage the whole project? Pathetic. That's right. Sore loser. If you can't win, you just burn the whole thing down, is that it? Enough. I roared, silencing the room. I pointed to the security camera mounted on the ceiling near Caleb's desk. "Let's just pull the security footage." The team exchanged uneasy glances. Caleb stopped crying. He looked at me, his eyes red and swollen. I don't want to unfairly accuse a senior colleague. I truly hope the footage shows you had nothing to do with this. The footage was pulled up on the main screen. But all the data from the previous evening, from the moment I left the office, had been completely wiped. Caleb's eyes widened with renewed horror. The only people with clearance to access the security server are Isabella, the director, and... He trailed off, looking at me with a heartbroken expression. Isabella was in client meetings all night. So that means... He choked on a sob. "Ethan, why would you do this?" I frowned. "Don't forget, besides Isabella and me, you, the new director, were also given clearance to access the security server." "Ethan," his voice trembled. "Are you suggesting I deleted my own project files, my own hard work, and then erased the evidence? That project was my life's blood, the hope of our entire department. Why would I ever do that?" He looked so utterly broken that several of the female engineers stormed over, and one of them slapped me hard across the face. "Have you no shame? You're a programmer. Would you ever delete your own code after spending months perfecting it? No wonder you were so quick to suggest checking the tapes. You knew you'd already destroyed them. We would have launched today if it weren't for you. You're not just ugly on the outside. You're rotten to the core." "Stop, don't." Caleb rushed over, pulling them away from me. He helped me up, his eyes filled with a pained sympathy. Ethan, you're my senior. Misunderstandings happen. I don't want to press charges. If you just help me rebuild the project, we can call even. That's all I ask. I stared at him, my expression cold as ice. So that was his real endgame. He needed me to do the work for him. My former colleagues were furious. Caleb, you're too kind. What he did is corporate sabotage. We could sue him for millions. Exactly. He doesn't deserve a second chance. I'm calling the police right now. No. Caleb grabbed the phone from a young woman's hand. It's better to give someone a chance to redeem themselves than to destroy their life. Caleb, several of the women looked at him, their eyes shining with admiration. You're too good for this world. You're going to get taken advantage of. It's okay, he said, shaking his head. The whispers started again. No wonder Isabella likes him. He's handsome, talented, and kind. I wouldn't want that four-eyed geek either. Caleb looked at me. Take all the time you need, Ethan. I can extend the deadline. Don't need to, I said, a smirk playing on my lips. 10 minutes should be enough. What? For Caleb, and everyone else stared at me in stunned silence. Is he serious? Who does he think he is, Caleb? I think the pressure finally broke him. Does he think this is grade school math? 10 minutes, I repeated, my voice steady, to restore all of yesterday's data. The smile on Caleb's face froze. I walked toward him, step by step, my own smile widening. Don't worry. Every file you deleted is about to be recovered. Wait. Caleb tried to block my path, but I was already at his desk, my fingers flying across the keyboard. In less than 10 minutes, the deleted project files were fully restored. Caleb wanted to stop me, but knew it would look like an admission of guilt. Beads of sweat formed on his forehead. It was obvious he had no idea such a recovery was even possible. My cursor hovered over the restored project folder. I shot him a cold smile. Let's see if our new director really solved the project problems, or if he just deleted the files to cover his tracks. Stop! Caleb shrieked and lunged for the computer, but it was too late. A different kind of impact came first. The heavy monitor was ripped from its stand and smashed into my side. Have you had enough? Isabella stood over me, her eyes blazing with fury. Was this little act of yours fun? I saw you with my own eyes last night, Ethan, sneaking around Caleb's computer. Then you went to the server room. What kind of game are you playing now? The screen went black. I stared up at her in shock. What are you talking about? I wasn't even in the building last night. Oh, really? You went to Caleb's desk, and then you went to the server room. Did you forget? What? Gasps rippled through the crowd. Isabella narrowed her eyes. Do you think I can't tell what you're doing? You're not recovering data. You're just running a meaningless script to make it look like Caleb never did any work yesterday. Oh my God, a colleague whispered. He was typing so fast, I really thought he was doing something. No way. Isabella knows more about this than any of us. If she says he's faking, he's faking. So he almost got fooled by that ugly bastard again. I gritted my teeth, looking up at Isabella. Why are you doing this to me? She looked down at me, her expression cold. I'm not doing anything to you, Ethan. You brought this on yourself. My breath hitched. What did I do? Her gaze flickered from me to Caleb, a complex emotion crossing her face. You know better than anyone what you did to him. She pulled out her phone. I didn't want to do this, but it seems a little time in a cell is the only way you'll learn to walk the straight and narrow. Isabella. I tried to get up, but my former team members pinned me to the floor. I could only watch as Isabella dialed 911. Yes, hello. I'm reporting an employee for the intentional destruction of company property, resulting in catastrophic financial losses. 5 just before they led me away, Isabella suddenly grabbed my cuffed hands. Be good in there. When you get out, I'll come pick you up myself. My eyes stung. Is this all because I failed his internship evaluation? She froze. After a long pause, she looked at me with cold detachment. Do you really need me to remind you? I stared at her, utterly lost. You're just the illegitimate son. Caleb is the true heir. Yet you and your father stole his birthright, drove him from his home, and were responsible for his father's death. You even tried to force him to change his name. Have you truly forgotten all of that? I stopped breathing. Isabella, what are you talking about? I'm a true heir. I'm the one who was pushed out by an illegitimate son, driven from my own home by my mother's lover. This scar on my face, it was his father who, MPHH. A hand clamped over my mouth. Caleb was looking nervously at Isabella. She glanced at the man beside her and offered him a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, I'm not listening to his lies." And she looked back down at me. "Ethan, I hope a stint in jail will teach you to be less vicious." My tears hit the polished floor. I was forced into the police car. At the last second, I saw Isabella take a step toward me, as if to say something more. But Caleb called her name. She stopped instantly, turned back to him, and never looked back at me again. I spent 2 days in a daze. Finally, a detective came to my interrogation room. "Mr. Hayes, my apologies for the inconvenience." "It's fine. You were just doing your jobs." The door opened, and I stepped out into the sunlight I hadn't seen in days. A team of my men stood waiting respectfully by a Rolls-Royce. "Do you have everything?" I asked. "All of the Vance family's dirty laundry?" "Verified and ready, sir," they said, bowing. I got into the car, leaned back against the leather seat, and closed my eyes. "Release it." 6 by the time I returned to Hayes Corporation, I held in my hands the culmination of years of Vance Industries research and development. Meanwhile, news broke that their flagship project had catastrophically failed. Isabella called me. "What good does leaking that information do you?" "I was saving that project for you, Ethan. I was going to give it to you when you got out." I laughed coldly. "Give it to me? You mean let me clean up Caleb's mess?" "Ethan, how can you say that?" Caleb's wounded voice came through the phone. "If you hadn't deleted my files, the project wouldn't be in this state. Whether they were deleted or never existed in the first place, you know the truth." "Ethan Hayes." Isabella's voice was frigid. "I thought a taste of jail would have taught you a lesson." "Fine. Stay out there. See who's willing to hire an employee with a criminal record besides Vance Industries." She hung up. I laughed out loud. It was time for her to learn who I really was. Shortly after, a small subsidiary of Hayes Corporation, my subsidiary, launched a groundbreaking new product. It was identical to the one Vance Industries was developing, only better, and it instantly dominated the market. Isabella unblocked my number. "Not only did you delete Caleb's project files, you stole his core technology. That's corporate espionage, Ethan. We can sue you. Pull the product now. I don't mind you working for Hayes Corp, but come back now, and I might give you one last chance." I chuckled. "First, how can it be stealing if I wrote every line of it myself? Second, you'll find out soon enough whether it was ever Caleb's work. And third, what do you mean work for Hayes Corporation? I am the Hayes Corporation, the one and only true-born son of the family." "What did you just say?" Isabella's voice was laced with disbelief. I continued, "And as for that boy toy of yours, an illegitimate parasite who thinks he can throw his weight around, did you really think I would let him get away with it?" I could hear Caleb crying in the background. Isabella's tone turned to ice. "Apologize, or I swear I will put you back in prison. You'll have to have the power to do that first." I hung up. Sure enough, a court summons arrived shortly after. I stood calmly in the defendant's dock. After her lawyer accused me of stealing trade secrets, I presented my own evidence to the court. The fully restored security footage. On the screen, Caleb was shown sitting alone at his workstation. The camera captured him deleting every single project file, then walking to the server room and erasing the security data. I looked at Caleb, whose face was as white as a sheet. "Did you really think all I did that day was restore the project files?" Isabella stared at the screen, speechless. The judge cleared his throat. "Based on this evidence, it would seem the plaintiff, not the defendant, is the one who has committed a corporate crime." "Wait," Isabella called out, stopping the proceedings. Her fists clenched. "I withdraw the suit." The judge paused. "To be clear, you do not wish to press charges for your own company's losses?" "That's correct." The words landed with a thud. I laughed, a bitter, mocking sound. She was willing to send me to jail on false testimony, without a shred of proof. But now, with irrefutable evidence against Caleb, she was protecting him. Caleb's eyes were red. "Isabella, I don't know how the video was faked to look like that. I swear I didn't." "I know," she said, smiling at him. "I believe you." The judge interjected sternly. "Ms. Vance, all evidence submitted to this court is thoroughly vetted. This footage shows no signs of tampering." "That's enough." Isabella stormed out of the plaintiff's box. As if courtroom security footage can't be manipulated. The judge was furious, but she was already gone, pulling Caleb with her. The case was dismissed. As I was leaving, I saw her sitting in her car parked outside the courthouse. Caleb was nowhere in sight. She rolled down the window, her expression cold. "Don't you have anything to say to me?" 7. I took a deep breath. "Isabella, are you really going to keep lying to yourself?" She sighed. "Whatever happened, it doesn't give you the right to retaliate against my company and frame Caleb." A lump formed in my throat. "Retaliate against you, fine. But frame him? How can you possibly think that? Caleb is the true heir to the Hayes family fortune. You and your father wronged him. If you can lash out at me because you feel slighted, why can't he do the same to you?" I felt the air leave my lungs. "So even now, you still believe he's the real heir?" Her eyes lingered on my face for a moment, on the scar. She finally sighed. "I know what I see." In that instant, something inside me shattered. If I held on to any last shred of affection for Isabella, it was because she was the one person who saw past my scar and valued my mind. But the way she just looked at me told me everything. Now, she was judging by appearances too. I touched the raised line of skin on my cheek, a cynical smile on my face. Even though this scar came from the hand of his father, the man my mother had an affair with. "Are you going to keep slandering him, even now?" I laughed. "It's not slander. It's an accusation." Isabella gritted her teeth. I turned to leave, but she called out, "Ethan, stop this." I looked back. "Do you really think you have the right to say that? What you took still belongs to Vance Industries. If we really push this, your reputation will be ruined." I laughed again. "Have you forgotten, Ms. Vance? Your company's core technology only became profitable after I arrived. Every single one of those technologies has my name on the patent. How exactly do you plan to sue me?" Isabella's fists tightened. She was right. In the years she loved me, she had allowed me to file every one of my creations under my own name. "But," she said, her voice strained, "those patents are registered under both our names." "Then name your price," I said with a breezy confidence. "We'll be happy to buy you out." Isabella's face darkened. After my counter-launch, her company was facing a boycott from its partners, and its stock was in freefall. Hayes Corporation, on the other hand, was soaring. Money was no object. "Ethan," she said, her voice quiet, "I don't even recognize you anymore." My expression hardened. "And you're no stranger to me, Ms. Vance." Our conversation ended with her speeding away without another word. She didn't ask for a settlement. She didn't file another lawsuit. But it wasn't long before I found out what her real plan was. After my father died, my mother moved her lover into our home. I never met his illegitimate son, Caleb. My 3 older sisters were fiercely protective of him, afraid of what I might do. I had to fight tooth and nail just to gain control of a failing subsidiary of Hayes Corporation. To turn it around, I disguised myself as a simple programmer and infiltrated Vance Industries as a corporate spy. I knew what I was doing was dishonorable, but to gain a foothold in my own family's company, to get back into the house my father built, I had no other choice. My sisters could afford to play defense, to maintain the status quo. I couldn't. My only path to survival was to be aggressive. My recent moves had paid off. My subsidiary was now outperforming the divisions run by all 3 of my sisters, earning me a spot at the annual succession meeting. My mother had long since removed me from the list of potential heirs, but my performance was now too significant to ignore. I had a chance to officially enter the competition. I was in the middle of my presentation when the massive screen behind me flickered, suddenly displaying security footage of me at Vance Industries, wearing those thick glasses. A wave of shock went through the boardroom. Isn't he the president of a Hayes subsidiary? Why was he working as a programmer at Vance Industries? And not just any programmer. It looks like he was a senior engineer. So his loyalty was with a competitor all along. Before I could react, my eldest sister walked onto the stage and took the microphone from my hand. As you can all see, my dear brother has been working for the Vance family. The Hayes family never excluded him for his lack of ability, yet he took our proprietary technology and gifted it to a rival. My gaze shifted, and I saw her in the corner of the room, Isabella Vance. Standing right next to her, dressed in an immaculate suit, was Caleb Reed. Of course, my fists clenched. Isabella's strategy was to ally with my sisters and attack me on all fronts. My work as a corporate spy was being twisted to look like I was a traitor who had sold out my own family. I couldn't tell the truth. Admitting to espionage was hardly a better look. It would just give them more ammunition. Hayes Corporation cannot fall into the hands of a man like this, my second sister declared. My third sister added, her voice filled with righteous indignation. He is no brother of ours. If he takes over, who's to say he won't just hand the company, our mother's entire life's work, over to someone else? I laughed out loud. Mother's life's work? How dare you say that? If Dad hadn't saved her when she was starving, would she have any of this? You live in the house my father built, and now you stand against him for the sake of an illegitimate son. My sisters were momentarily stunned. My eldest was the first to recover. Father only noticed Mother because of her talent. Even without him, another, better man would have seen her potential and given her everything. If anything, Father was lucky to have found her. Smack! A sharp slap echoed through the room. Everyone gasped. My sister touched her lip, saw the blood on her fingers, and her face contorted with rage. You dare hit me? I'm your older sister. That's exactly why I hit you. I slapped her again across the other cheek. Bodyguard from both sides rushed the stage. My sister spat out a mouthful of blood and pointed at me. Throw this bastard out and bar him from any future meetings. Revoke his eligibility to compete for the inheritance. I'd like to see you try. I slammed a document down on the lectern. A last will and testament. When the board members saw the signature, they froze. Is that the matriarch's will? When did she write this? Even Isabella took a step forward, her face a mask of shock. I projected the will onto the main screen. Everyone looked closely. The matriarch herself appointed me, Ethan Hayes, as the sole heir. Not any of these three women. My eldest sister swayed on her feet. She stared at the handwriting on the screen, her breath catching in her throat. She had spent more time with our mother than anyone. She knew her signature, but she gritted her teeth. No, this is a forgery. This is absolutely not what Mother wanted. I pointed to the wax seal on the document. The family seal is on it, and we all know Mother never lets anyone touch her personal seal. Seals can be forged too, my second sister cried out. My third sister quickly chimed in. Exactly, and with today's AI technology, faking a document like this would be easy. Yes, yes. The executives loyal to my sisters began to shout. We don't recognize this. The heir is not Ethan Hayes. Is that so? I raised an eyebrow and clapped my hands. A woman in a sharp business suit walked onto the stage, carrying a briefcase. My eldest sister's breath hitched. Ms. Peterson, the lawyer glanced at her, then bowed respectfully to me. My sister grabbed her by the shoulders, her voice frantic. You're supposed to be handling the matriarch's estate. What are you doing here? You're here to confirm this will is a fake, right? Ms. Peterson calmly removed her hands from her shoulders. My apologies, everyone, she announced, her voice clear and firm. I am here to confirm that this will is a legally binding document, personally reviewed, signed, and sealed by the matriarch herself. What did you say? My sister stumbled backward. Then, with a scream of rage, she lunged, her hands closing around the lawyer's throat. Impossible. The matriarch was going to name me as heir. How much did he pay you to lie? My other two sisters rushed forward to join the assault. Our mother treated you like family, and this is how you repay her. I signaled my bodyguards. In seconds, all three of my sisters were pinned to the floor. I stepped in front of Ms. Peterson, looking down at them. You dare lay a hand on the matriarch's personal counsel? Do you have a death wish? My sisters could only glare up at me from the ground. I sneered and took the microphone. As you have all just witnessed, effective immediately, I am the head of the Hayes family. For those of you who wish to follow these three, I won't stop you. But make your choice wisely, because there is no coming back. The doors to Hayes Corporation will be closed to you forever. The room was silent for a moment. Then, one executive stepped forward. I pledge my loyalty to the head of the Hayes family. A second followed. I pledge my loyalty to the head of the Hayes family. Then a third, a fourth, until the individual shouts merged into a single, deafening roar that shook the entire building. We pledge our loyalty to the head of the Hayes family. Only a small handful of loyalists remained with my sisters. I smiled at them and gestured to my security team. Deal with them. As they were being dragged out, I turned my attention to the corner of the room. Wait! I pointed at the man standing behind Isabella. Bring me the bastard. No, don't. Caleb's voice was hoarse with terror. Isabella, Ms. Vance, help me. Ethan. Isabella quickly moved to shield him. Don't make another mistake. You're the one who made the mistake. I stared at her coldly. I gave you a chance, Isabella. I brought the microphone to my lips. I'm officially announcing that Vance Industries is permanently blacklisted by Hayes Corporation. Isabella froze. Hayes Corporation was now the undisputed leader of the industry. Any company we blacklisted would be untouchable. I smiled at her. Oh, but I forgot, Ms. Vance. Your company's stock has already been delisted. Vance Industries isn't even a company anymore, is it? You. Isabella's hand, the one clutching Caleb's arm, began to tremble. Then, slowly she let go. Caleb cried out as my guards grabbed him. Ms. Vance, how could you do this to me? Ethan. Isabella looked at me, her eyes red. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Are you asking for my forgiveness? She bit her lip. I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. I slowly walked toward her. Her eyes lit up with a flicker of hope. The next second, the sharp crack of my hand across her face silenced the room. You suddenly realize you misunderstood me now that I'm the head of the Hayes family? What about before? When you knew perfectly well I was never in the office that night, but you accused me of deleting Caleb's files anyway. The situation was much clearer then, wasn't it? And what did you do? She clutched her cheek, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. Ethan. I grabbed her chin, forcing her to look at me. You don't realize you were wrong. You realize you've lost. I shoved her to the ground. I looked down at the woman I once loved, my voice devoid of all emotion. Throw her out. 10. When I returned to the family estate, I went straight to my mother's bedroom. She lay on the bed, a web of tubes and wires connecting her to a series of machines. I sat down and gently wiped her hands with a warm cloth. Mother, Yule was very effective. I'm the head of the family now. Her clouded eyes strained to focus on me. Her body trembled, as if she was trying to sit up to strike me. But I held her down effortlessly. Don't get excited. You don't have much time left. If you get agitated, you'll only die sooner. A harsh, ragged sound came from her throat, like air being forced through a broken bellows. I rested my chin on my hand. It's tragic, isn't it? In the end, even your own lawyer was working for me. Her eyes widened, a tear rolling down from the corner. I wiped it away for her. Oh, and that son you had with your lover? I've had him sent to a remote post in Africa. And your 3 darling daughters? I've dropped them on a deserted island in the Pacific to learn some survival skills. I know how much you love them. They needed a little character building, don't you think? Her lips trembled, trying to form words she no longer had the strength to speak. I smiled. If you had known it would come to this, would you still have brought that man into our home? Did you ever imagine it? That your useless youngest son, the one with the scarred face, shunned by his sisters and your bastard child, would one day hold all the power? Her breathing became violent, the frantic, final struggle of a dying animal. My hand moved to the oxygen tube connected to her mask. Father came to me in a dream last night. Do you know what he said? Her eyes darted toward me, wide with fear. He said he's waiting for you, and he promises you an eternity of suffering. Hiss. I pulled the tube free. In her last moment, my mother's eyes were fixed on me, filled with a look of pure shock. The heart monitor flatlined. I turned and walked calmly out of the room, leaving the staff to handle the arrangements. I didn't look back. For years, I had been alone in this family. Now, I was the only one left with any real power. In the mirror, the scar on my face was still a jagged, angry line. But now I could touch it and feel a slow smile spread across my lips. I used to dream of having it removed, of erasing the mark he left on me. But I don't need to anymore. Power is the only cosmetic that matters. The small details are irrelevant.